how to really get started. Okay, hi everyone. So in this video, we are going to talk about like how to become a JavaScript ninja developer. I got a feedback from a lot of developers, DevOps people and all, maybe some QA and people coming from different technology stack, like how they can really start with JavaScript, what all the things to learn. And most of this question is from the fresher, like because they see these funny or funky frameworks and they just jump to it, right? So that's a problem of current world. If you are not dealing things correctly, if you are not navigating through the correct roadmap path, then obviously you will get lost and you might end up learning something. Obviously, if you just, let's say you are a JavaScript developer and you wanted to be ninja, that's your target. And JavaScript is popular, I will say, like a lot of things you can build in JavaScript, and JavaScript has enough jobs in the market. I will say the when I saw the Stack Overflow survey, JavaScript is something which is being used everywhere. And when it comes to getting a job and all these things, if you know JavaScript, I think there are enough opportunities available. Either you talk about any particular framework, the core understanding of JavaScript, because some companies do want that you know the core concepts of JavaScript. Now they can give you any framework, any tool set, any technology set in JavaScript. So that is more important here. So first of all, like how to become ninja. So here, let's say you are a fresher. There are three stacks we have. Let's say you are a fresher and you just started learning, right? Most of the coolest graduates, what they do is they start with basic JavaScript because this is simplified and easy for them, but they get lost in the middle. Why? Because always they think that, okay, they saw the videos, okay, learn React in 2 hours, learn nodejs in 1 hour, or learn DevOps in 1 hour, or something like this. And that's the real problem we have here, because we are not following any roadmap. Or you might see some JavaScript roadmap online and just follow that path. That is also fine. But I will say first is, when you are learning JavaScript, is first gets a core hands-on. And when I say core hands-on is, what is JavaScript, how it works with HTML, because JavaScript earlier we thought it's a client side. Now JavaScript is a server side also, right? So you should be good at, okay, how JavaScript work at the client side on the browser, how JavaScript work at the server side with the nodejs, because in JavaScript we know nodejs, and these server side frameworks available to write the server side systems. That can be the APIs or any kind of service you are building, which runs on server. Rest all the other things we are running on the browser. Either you talk about the React, Angular, Vue.js. I know like there are maybe 5, 6 or more than 10 different framework available. Vue.js, sveltekit, nextjs is server side rendered, but React.js, Angular.js, Ember.js, and Angular 1.x. I know a lot of framework and I have worked on them. So those all are like client side, but you should not jump to that. That's the main focus is, you should not jump directly to the learning a framework. First you should understand how JavaScript really works. So for that you should know how to deal with the DOM when you are writing in HTML and JavaScript, how we are doing it. So even if you just write a simple to-do app, right? If I just talk about any React developer who's writing React for 2 years, and when I give a problem, okay, can you write a simple to-do app without using any framework, just accessing the DOM nodes, creating the element like document.get element by ID, document.create element, document.add child, and all these things. These methods he or she is not aware, right? But under the hood, this is what that is happening in your whole journey. When you are writing a React, Angular and all are doing a DOM manipulation, just in a different possible way. So first of all, good JavaScript understanding is must. And maybe you can follow some tutorials, some channel. I'm not saying that my content is best. You can just go through the MDN documentation, Mozilla Developer Network, right? that provides a lot of good useful information. You can refer any particular book, but the core understanding of JavaScript should be good, like how the function behaves, how now we are writing classes with the ES6 and a lot of things we are doing in JavaScript, objects, spread operator, rest parameter. I mean, a lot of ES6 features, ES5, ES6, ES7. So there is a lot of things you must learn in JavaScript before even moving to any further level. Now, what people do is they just go through some tutorials and they start exploring maybe React, because if we talk about React, people talk about, okay, learn React in 2 hours, 3 hours, and they start learning React. And they say that I can build a to-do app in React with and I know React. This is the scary part, because yes, React is a framework which is doing everything for you. You are not even aware how actually the components are getting compiled, what JSX you are writing, how you are writing TypeScript, JavaScript and all. So once you become familiar with JavaScript core concepts and advanced concept, I will ask you to choose one framework. Okay, maybe you can choose React, sveltekit, or Vue.js or Angular. That depends on the market availability, because what people do is, if the project is in Angular, they are stick with Angular. I mean, learning a framework is not a bad thing. You can learn Angular, you can learn React, you can learn Vue.js or any framework. The only possible part is learning it properly, right? Not just like watching a particular videos and try to learn it, because once you learn it, your job depends on it. And do not learn and do not become that stack developer. Okay, I heard that there used to be a mean or MERN, and people start calling it job opportunities for this mean, MERN, and I don't know like how many stacks are there, because these are just the names. Don't just confused with them that you are a mean stack or MERN stack developer. There is nothing like that in JavaScript. You should be good at JavaScript, and it can be a mean or MERN or anything, because what matters is just a framework change, and anybody can learn these framework over the night and then get experience over the time. So don't stick yourself to just watching, okay, I'm a mean stack developer, MERN stack developer, because if you are a JavaScript developer, you can do anything in JavaScript. Don't limit yourself just to React, Angular, Vue.js, Svelte.js, SvelteKit or anything, because JavaScript is the whole lot of ocean and you are just diving into it. So you can start learning React. Now, I will not just talk about n number of different things to learn, but when you are writing a React, don't jump to any framework to write a styling. Let's say people started using Tailwind, Bootstrap and all. First, try to write styling by yourself. Here you are understanding DOM, right? Here also you should learn vanilla styling, okay, how you can write as styles. Currently what I see is people are just using these Tailwind, Bootstrap and all these framework classes. They don't even know, right, how to centralize the element. Now we have these flags, grid and all, but under the hood, right, how these flags works, you should know these flexbox classes. It's not like you just use a Tailwind class. Obviously the end goal is to get the job done, but you should know how the styling is really working, right? Just like all these box model, all the different kind of a layout, positioning systems and all. So first of all, understanding the core is required, and then you can choose, okay, I wanted to use Tailwind for styling my components. I wanted to choose some other thing for building my component in Angular, React or Vue.js. Now Tailwind is popular, so I will just go with that, because once you know the core vanilla JavaScript and CSS, you have done some projects in vanilla CSS and JavaScript, then you know how to use them. Then you can just choose any framework, React, Angular, Vue.js. That is all client side, because I don't want you just stick to a front-end web developer position. Obviously when you are just writing or running something, you will end up into one zone, either a front-end zone or a back-end zone. But it's not like you limit yourself just to, okay, just being a front-end web developer writing components. I will always say that you should explore other opportunities of writing a backend in nodejs, because here it is a server-side thing. So it's not a fresher, it's like 1 or 2 to 3 years of experience. Because once you have a 2 to 3 years of experience, what you know a couple of frameworks in the front end, and you started exploring the back end part of it, right? JavaScript server side. This is what you started exploring. Now in JavaScript, there is the whole ocean set of technologies. I mean, there are many things you can explore and learn. I won't say that you learn each and everything, but when it comes to the tool set and all, first you should learn Express. And when you learn Express and build a basic APIs, don't say that you can write a backend systems. Because when it comes to the backend, there are a lot many things you can do in the backend. But yeah, initially understanding a simple basic system exposing a REST interface is required, where you are writing a different interface, get, put, post, delete, patch, and there is a client you have in a React, Angular, or Vue.js consuming those APIs, right? And then you can start exploring the TypeScript, because now without TypeScript there is nothing. So here is, okay, I got everything. Now it's time me to explore or deep dive. I mean, you don't need to learn TypeScript, you just need to use it. And when you use it, you will start becoming familiar, because TypeScript is just on top of JavaScript, and you don't need to learn it. TypeScript automatically, TypeScript, when you write TypeScript with React, TypeScript for the nodejs, you're just writing a type definitions for objects, variables, classes, methods, and all. And when you start using it, it's everywhere. Now without TypeScript, I won't say that you should build any kind of project. In today's world, TypeScript is a must. Okay, so when you learn TypeScript, okay, then you can start exploring some kind of a framework for the backend also. Like front end, you know, HTML, CSS, then started looking for, okay, React, Angular, Vue.js, sveltekit. And if you really wanted to explore in 2023, you must learn sveltekit and sveltekit. Like there is a React nextjs for server-side rendering, similarly sveltekit for the client-side app, sveltekit for server-side rendered application. So once you are good at this, then you start looking for the server-side framework. I mean, this is my journey in the past 6-7 years. This is how I learned a lot. Server-side framework, you can just explore Express TypeScript. If Express you already know, nextjs, Koa, happy.js, and all these different framework are out there. You can start exploring them and build the APIs. Now it's not only just you build the REST APIs or GraphQL APIs. You should be able to write any kind of system which is server-side. So in server-side framework, let's say we talk about nextjs, we talk about Express, Koa, happy. I mean, there are many, I don't remember all the names, but these are different framework which are available to write, to help you to write the systems. And now Express is more popular and you will intend to use it. You can also explore nextjs. I have a lot of content and I love writing APIs or systems, backend systems in nextjs. Then coming to this, because now you started exploring the backend systems. So coming to the database side. Database, I mean, when you do the front end, you are not into the database side and you don't know how to deal with all those things. But now, as you want to become a ninja, right? So you should be good at working with SQL and NoSQL database. I'm not saying that when you have become a developer, it's your day-to-day job to write the queries, build the APIs. Most probably you will either write the components in React and do the integration, or if you're a backend developer, doing the queries and all. But there is no harm in learning things when things are okay. You are writing JavaScript everywhere, either a client side or a server side, it's all JavaScript, right? So for SQL, NoSQL, Postgres, MySQL is good. For NoSQL, MongoDB, Dynamo. I mean, Dynamo is a cloud, but MongoDB is simplified and easy to use and learn. And then obviously a lot of other things will came into the picture, the ORMs, right? How to deal with all these database. So you will start learning the ORMs like Mongoose, SQLize, type ORMs, all these ORMs came into the picture. So ORMs layer. So here what you do is you will learn SQLize, let's say Mongoose for NoSQL database. Then there is a SQLize or type ORM for SQL database. I mean, there are many other ORMs which can help you, like Prisma. Prisma is also ORM on top of that. So what those ORMs are helping you to fetch the data when you build the APIs. So these ORMs can talk to your SQL database or NoSQL database. Now I'm more into the backend side. I know how to write the APIs, running that locally, how to connect to the database. And now my next part, which is there, is where should I host this application? I have the APIs, which is running fine. I have the front end React app. I have backend services running. But if I wanted to share it and show my work somewhere, then where can I deploy it? Right? Then it's the picture is the deployment part. These are the basic roadmap. I'm not talking about advanced architecture level stuff. I'm talking about the roadmap of 2 to 3 years of experience, and I'm talking about Ninja developer for it. So you will start exploring, okay, where can I deploy the application? I have a front end, which is client-side rendered application, which I'm using the React, Angular, client-side. Whatever the client-side app you use, you can actually host it anywhere. So then you can start looking for the cloud option. Or you will learn how can I deploy the application. It's not like, okay, you need to learn DevOps for doing these things. In service-based companies, you are not even familiar how the application is getting deployed. Because learning the CI/CD is like, it's not a DevOps thing. You should be responsible for doing all these kind of things. And then you can explore, okay, how you can deploy the front end client-side rendered application on the AWS, Azure, or somewhere else. And then how can you deploy your backend application, which requires a database, which requires some framework to run on AWS, Azure, or maybe on Heroku, right? So cloud options means you are buying a server, you are paying this amount to some service provider to host your application. So Heroku, AWS, and Azure. I mean, I will say that with 2 to 3 years of experience, you should know how this what is AWS cloud, Azure cloud, how to deploy your front-end application, back-end application. Even you can try for AWS cloud practitioner certification that gives you the whole overview of how you can build and deploy application. Now I can say, okay, I'm a beginner level full stack developer because I can use any framework to build my client side, either a client side rendered framework, which is React, Angular, or these, or I also learned the server side rendering, SSR, where I'm using nextjs. But you should learn this only when you know how to write a backend in nodejs. Then only you will understand how actually this SSR works and how this rendering is happening. Nextjs, sveltekit, or any other framework which is doing a server-side rendering. Okay, so these all components. This is how your journey should be, not just like, okay, learning JavaScript and I started learning sveltekit. I won't get anything. I may learn how to write the syntax, but that's not going to be useful for me. Now with the cloud, Heroku, AWS, and Azure, these are really important. With the 2 to 3 years of experience, once you know this, you will understand the whole picture, how to write the pipelines in the GitHub Actions, how to write pipeline using GitLab CI YML, and then how to deploy the application to simple maybe a Heroku front-end app, Heroku APIs, or the AWS Cloud Front-end S3 we will use, or similarly on Azure. This is what you should be aware. And now your role can be a front-end heavy or a back-end heavy from this side. If your role is front-end heavy, then you should be good at some of the framework which you are using in the company, writing the reusable component, managing the storybook kind of a repository for your reusable components, using n number of libraries and exploring the opportunities to learn them. Because now you are experienced and now you are exploring more and more things in the front end. If your role is more about writing the components in the sveltekit, svelte.js, or react.js, keeping yourself updated and write as much as you can, because sometimes we just keep ourselves limited to what we do in the company, just writing a component, writing test case, my job is done. No, but because in JavaScript is evolving day by day. If you talk about simple project and tool set, you might be using npm, yarn, or pnpm. There are like even if you talk about the package management system in JavaScript that is evolving, and tool set, we are using now monorepos to build the projects, right? So every time, and I mean, a lot of things are coming into picture: monorepos and package managers, npm, yarn, pnpm. How we build the application is really getting changed, because now we are adopting the faster framework like sveltekit, which is using this wit and wit runner, which is making your compilation, which is compiling the svelte, which is using this svelte.js compiler and building the code very fast. If you talk about, you write a React Hughes app, then obviously the build is taking longer time with the help of Webpack. But now the latest tool set is doing a lot of things on top of it. So you should always be updated with all those things. If you learn Svelte.js, then you will know, okay, this new tool set, you might start using monorepo for your front-end application. In the monorepo, you will put, okay, these are my reusable components. This is my front-end app. In front-end, I have a different sections. Okay, this is the client side front-end app. This is the admin side front-end app. And all those things I can manage in the monorepo. Monorepo is not a new concept, but now it is evolving and becoming popular. You can use Lana, you can use Bit, you can use NX and PNP with the help of PNPM workspaces or NPM workspaces. So learning a monorepo is now a really good thing. Then if you talk about just a purely front end and you are limiting yourself to a React, then obviously in React there are a lot of things. React Redux, obviously, if you know React, you know the Redux toolkit and other state management solutions and latest React changes you should be familiar with. I mean, when you write a lot of things in React, then you start using those things and you become familiar with that. Writing the test cases using React testing library, writing end-to-end reusable components using some React storybook, because now you are experienced and you know how to use the storybook, how to put the reusable components into a one repository and consume it throughout the different organizational project, right? Similarly, if you have front-end heavy things, you can learn server-side rendered framework, which is Next.js and sveltekit, because that will give you more options to write a front-end app, not just in React. You can just use Next.js, you can not just Svelte.js, you can also use sveltekit. And these days learning is easy, and then getting experienced by doing it is over the time that will happen when you start using it, exploring, getting some errors, troubleshooting. That will give you some more experience. Now, if you want to do the backend heavy responsibilities, then obviously you will learn first building the REST APIs, okay? But when you learn REST APIs, then you can do a lot of other things also. So this is where I learned building the REST APIs, and I can build any kind of REST API system. Then you will start talking about, okay, how can I build a GraphQL APIs? Then you might explore, okay, these are both HTTP protocol based backend systems. I can talk about, okay, how can I build a gRPC or TRPC based system, or how can I just write a Lambda, because Lambda is also server side on nodejs. It's using some cloud vendor technology, but Lambda is also doing the same thing what we are doing in the REST API and the GraphQL APIs. That when you're doing a server side or running on server, it is these REST APIs and GraphQL APIs are running 24/7. But when you do it on the Lambda, that's like you are invoking a function and that is responding to your request. So having a Lambda knowledge on top of your cloud is really good thing if you have it, because people also using these cloud technologies and writing the Lambdas for their backend APIs. Either it is a REST API, GraphQL APIs. So learning Lambda on AWS, API Gateway, Lambda, DynamoDB is really add-on on top of that. And nextjs, building a REST APIs, building GraphQL APIs, and you can learn more about learning gRPC, TRPC. And on top of that, if it is a backend heavy, you start exploring other framework. But if you are satisfied with the nextjs and Express, that's more than enough. You can do anything in backend systems. If you know these framework, then you start exploring the different database, different framework. This is what your job is now, to get more hands-on on different type of services, because a simple service can be exposed a REST interface, GraphQL interface, can also listen for some kind of events coming in a system, right? Event-driven architecture, different architecture pattern, you start becoming familiar. This is what your the roadmap to become ninja. If you are really a backend developer, you start understanding the different database, querying them, and learning how to do the migration with a different database, being good at it. It's not only just learning, it's all about being good at it, and using TypeScript everywhere. This is also help you to become ninja in JavaScript. Okay, so these days the overall summary of this whole is, I will just so start using TypeScript, have a good grasp on core JavaScript skills, learn new framework, but before that have a good understanding on Express, how the REST API works, and then you can, on top of that, you can learn the different framework. Similarly, have a good grasp on the basic JavaScript, write different API just using JavaScript and HTML, and then think about how it is being done through some framework, React, sveltekit, or Vue.js, how those are different, how these framework different from one another. Because if you have used Angular and React, you know the difference, how the component is being compiled there, how the component is compiled and bundled here, how it is being done in the sveltekit. Sveltekit is doing out of the box, and how it is different than, because sveltekit is compiler and doing this compilation and building the components very fast at the runtime. So you will start exploring it, because if you want to have this ninja tag with your profile, and then build a good set of projects, write a full stack application with these variety of framework, use TypeScript, use different database, and get yourself familiar with most of the things which are there in JavaScript, which are popular, right? Using monorepo, working with Git is obviously very basic, GitLab. And also you can learn about writing the CI/CD setup, so that if you are writing a front-end app, you know how this is getting compiled, packaged, and shipped it to your S3 bucket, or maybe if you are writing server-side app, how it is shipped to your Lambda function and server, so that it can be rendered. Okay, I will stop here, and if anybody has any question, then it's good, or you can just send me a question. I thought like a lot of people were asking how to get started to get a job. For that, I'm separately creating another playlist, how to crack a job or using JavaScript technologies. Like you are looking for a switch or a job in JavaScript domain, then what all things you must know, how to prepare for it, because now the interview process is not that easy. They give you the assignment, they ask you to write a code, and that obviously that code is not that complex, but how can you get ready for those? I'm not going to prepare you for data structure and algorithms part, but yeah, I'm just going to put enough content so that you will get yourself confident when facing a code assignment and doing a coding interviews there. Okay, so that's pretty much we have.